All right, here with Coach Vince Anderson, 2021 Hall of Fame inductee through Zoom this year, as you know, with COVID. But, Coach, as we mentioned to you, we're going to invite the entire class of 2021 to join us in 22. So we'll put the two classes together and just have a huge party with both classes.
Sounds great. I'm very appreciative for the honor, and it means a great deal to me. So thank you, Coach Cantor, and to the selection committee, and just honored to be part of this group.
Now, you have been a sought after sprint coach, speed coach, as a speaker for a little while now. Who are your mentors in developing your sprint speed philosophy? And then how has that philosophy changed over the years?
Well, when I started out, I was like most coaches. I was limited in my scope and knowledge to my own experience, my own high school track experience. People without intervention, they train the way they were trained.
Right.
And I came to coaching late. I was an architect for several years and didn't really start coaching until my early 30s. And Coach Tellez is my first and most significant mentor. And, he taught me that coaching was a visual discipline, and biomechanical requirements are very strict. And that was a very formative education. But I've been the beneficiary of a lot of great mentors. I started out an energy systems coach, like most people do. And over the years, I very quickly, coming into contact with people like Gary Winkler and Brian Monshine and Lauren Seagrave, I quickly developed into more central nervous system coach, a speed power coach, which the science very much supports. So I gradually had to shift from becoming an energy systems, grinding on the track, lots of volume coach, where nothing was happening for us. And as I became, as I aligned myself with the scientific research, the results started getting a lot better as I changed to speed and power. But I owe a lot to Dan Paff, Boo Scheck-Snyder, all of my head coaches. Dorothy Doolittle took a chance on me and hired me when all I could do was recruit. I wanted to be a good coach, but she sort of took me under her wing. And when she hired me, she knew that I needed some work. And she let me stretch my wings and develop some coaching tools while she guided me. And that's a luxury that most assistant coaches don't get these days. They don't get to be mentored by their head coach. So Dorothy Doolittle at the University of Tennessee, Bill Webb at the University of Tennessee let me coach, gave me guidance where necessary. Coach Henry at Texas A&M let me coach. So I'm really grateful to all of them. I learned so much from all of them. They're very, very different. I was a product of coach's education. I had wonderful teachers in level 2 and in the jumps and the sprints. And so a lot of people's work and ideas have gone into shaping me into the coach that I am. And I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Coach's Ed and the generous coaches involved in that vision and that project. I mean, I was there at the inception of that. I went to the first level 1 school. I went to the first level 2 school. Like literally, I got in on the ground floor of that movement, and am living proof that that's a worthwhile endeavor. And I encourage all coaches to go down that road because it tells you the truth about where things are in terms of training knowledge. And if you follow those principles, your training improves radically.
Yeah, no doubt. I just finished Coach Tellez's new release.
Yes, Coach Tellez is dear to my heart, and just a great coach in his own right. He had a slow motion freeze frame camera in his blind. He had the greatest eye I've ever seen for movement.
What have you learned that you give back now to coaches when you speak?
Well, I've learned, I mean, goodness, I, I mean, that's also a very generous question. I give back everything I can. I do not believe in the idea that there's closely guarded secrets, because anyone who understands something to a really deep degree,
Hmm.
at least the inception of that notion or that idea came from someone else.
Right.
They didn't think it up themselves. They may have taken an initial idea like sprinting is stepping down, and so we're going to develop some spaces that are age group and ability group appropriate. But the idea started with generosity from someone else. So anything I know, I take the radical stance. I give it back. I don't have any secrets. I let people look at my workouts if it's instructive. I try not to give the workouts without context so they'll know how I
Right.
think, because that's what you need to know. But anything I know, I try to put back into the public realm, because people were generous with what they gave me. And we're told, it's very biblical, we get way more back from what we give anyway. So, giving is a very, very important idea in anything in living,
Right.
but certainly that's true in coaching. And if you do give good information to other coaches and you have to compete against them, I found that it does not slow your role at all in terms of what you achieve as a team. We can all run fast. We can all make good exchanges. Like, share the wealth, share the knowledge, pass it forward, because people were generous to me. I have no right to let that knowledge stop with me. I have to continue to branch it out as it was branched out unto me.
Agree with that philosophy 1,000%. It's interesting you say you were in architecture first. What made you move from architecture to coaching track and field? And is there any correlation between the math and science behind architecture and the beauty and simplicity behind an architectural structure into track and field?
Yeah, these are good questions. The economy went bad in Houston in the early 80s. And so I had trouble keeping a job. And so after a few layoffs, I had to decide, well, am I going to keep going down this road, or am I going to do something else? And I had toyed with the idea of being a coach right out of high school. Like when I went to college, you could the PE major still existed. So a lot of,
Mhm.
and I didn't choose that because I was interested in so many things. I couldn't decide on what I wanted to do. Ended up going into architecture. Well, 11 years later, after starting college, I decided to try to go into coaching, and I walked into Coach Telez's office to see if I could be a volunteer. And I knew nothing about coaching at all. Literally, I just had an interest in it. I had no knowledge of what it took. Um, and as for architecture, strangely, architecture is not that mathematical. That's mainly, engineering is what is heavily mathematical. Architecture, there's a little bit math, but architecture is more like a studio art class. It's more like a painting or sculpture. It's very visual.
Mhm.
So this did work for me. The design process helps for designing anything. So when I had to design training programs, the idea I had a design education helped make that easier. And the fact architecture was a visual discipline, you had to use your eyes and watch things for proportion and lines, even though you were looking at stationary objects.
Right.
Buildings don't move. The idea, when I came across Coach Telez's teaching, that coaching was a visual discipline and movement analysis discipline, I was not uncomfortable with that idea. So I could how could I put it, trustingly move into that realm and start trying to sharpen my eye, because I was used to having my eye sharpened in a completely different way. But
Right.
architecture and track coaching are both highly visual disciplines. And that was a overlap and carryover that seemed very relevant. And again, design is design is design, whether you're designing a spoon or a building or an annual training plan, it's still design. So those design education frameworks that I was taught, I applied and brought to my seasonal planning, my weekly planning, my daily planning, and it just helped.
Makes a lot of sense. From University of Houston to Tennessee, then most recently to A&M, what are some of your favorite memories from your coaching stops?
Well, I'm really grateful to have had so many. It's hard to single them out, but the times that I remember the most are uh, just, my first day walking out to practice at Tennessee, my first day on a paying job. I was just so grateful. And um, when you see athletes break through, I remember Justin Gatlin's first day at practice, and we were teaching him how to accelerate, and he got it almost immediately. You know, when I told a group of on the first day of relay practice in 2008 at the University of Tennessee, we had a really good foursome. Portia Lucas and
Mm-hmm.
Liz Ajoti and Simone Facey and um, two other gals, Rachel Foster and goodness, the name escapes me. Trisha Henry. So I told them, I said, I've never worked with you five, and it was a new five that year. One of them had been there, but the other four were all new. We had one holdover and four new people come in.
Okay.
And I told them, I said, you can win NCAAs. And you could tell they were like, yeah, whatever, And we were clowns through the Penn relays. Like at Penn relays, we didn't make an exchange and or DNF'd. And we just kept working. And after Penn relays, we changed the order and switched things around and moved Simone to third. And we won NCAAs that year. And Penn is in late April,
Right.
and NCAAs is in mid-June. So we had to pretty much get that together in 7 weeks. Now we were working the whole time, but its first the first lineup we did, I had people in the wrong order, but you just had to work through it and find the combination. And when we did, we were really good for a long time. So it's those breakthrough moments, and I cited just a couple. There are many. It's there's a lot of wonderful things about coaching, but the most wonderful thing I think is when you see something developing, and any way you look at it, you see that group or that team is going to be good, and then that comes about. It makes you feel like you're not crazy. It makes you feel like it's okay to trust your instincts at times. It makes you feel like, man, I'm glad I saw that accurately for what it was. But that seeing it and envisioning it, that seed of that idea, of the seed of that achievement before it happens, and then watching it come about, that's a great, great thing. And that's happened a few times. So that with the Gatlin story and the relay story being just two of them.
And finally, Coach, um, we know the reason that we're here at this moment is to celebrate in an unconventional way, as it's been since last spring break, but to celebrate your induction into the Texas Track and Field Hall of Fame. So I want to give you an opportunity for your thoughts on being inducted into the Texas Track and Field Hall of Fame, and give you a moment if there's anyone you would like to express a moment of gratitude to.
Well, thank you, Coach. And there certainly is. I think that's the most important thing, and that's the thing I was looking most forward to expressing. I'm only here because of the boost that I get from others. First of all, I want to thank God, for whom all things are possible and through whom all things are possible. Um, Mine is a family story. My bride, Charla, uh, the love of my life, has been the rudder of our family. Sadly, when you're a track coach, I've missed a lot of my son's life, and my wife has been the rudder of our family, the center, the person who literally keeps the home fires burning, and has raised our son, both of whom I love to death. But she inspires me with her work ethic and all that she's taught me, and all the way she's matured me and allowed me to be a coach and follow my dream. And my son has been an inspiration in how he's learned and grown, and he's a law student now, but watching him through the years, just the way he went about things, and his work ethic, and the way he approaches his athletics, and his schoolwork, now with a pure heart, is very informative. And I learned from the both of them to this day. I had two parents. I was lucky. They were divorced, but I had two parents that loved me. From mom, I got my interest in art. From dad, I got my interest in sport. I wouldn't be a track coach if he didn't take me to the 1970 track meet, Southwest Conference track meet, at San Jacinto. And again, all my coaching mentors. I've had lots of help, I guess, is the story of this. And I want to shout that out. I mean, I've been lifted up, supported, and allowed to do what I do because people are supporting me. And I'm very grateful. I love coaching. There was a long period of my life, I never realized I'd be a coach. And when it finally occurred to me that's something I wanted to do, and I jumped into the fray and landed on my feet, and I've been really, really fortunate. So I'm also want to give a deep thanks to the committee. As I said, I'm a loyal Texan, and Texas is dear to my heart. So being inducted into this Hall of Fame means a lot to me, because when I grew up, track in Texas was important. Like, this is one of the three epicenters of track and field in the United States, and therefore the world. And Texas's track history and legacy, approaches that of California's. And I am deeply familiar. If I don't know all of my fellow inductees, I'm deeply familiar with their work, and have watched all of their teams run, or in the case of like athletes like Ryan Crowder, watched him coach, watch him compete many times. And I knew his coach at the University of Texas. But of particular interest to me, of all of them, I think subconsciously, one of the reasons that I am a coach is the magnificent work of Galveston Ball, who my brother and dad and I saw run on numerous occasions, when I was in junior high and high school and beyond, and saw such great athletes as Charles Alexander and Vince Corville and Patrick Bates and Derek Florence, and running 3:10.3 in the 4x4. And so the work of Coach Corville is just legendary to me. And those ball teams were great, great teams. And you could argue they were among the greatest, if not the greatest, teams ever assembled in the state of Texas history. And there have been some magnificent teams put together. So
no doubt,
being in that company and having seen all those people run, gosh, that's I honor them highly anyway. So to be part of a group that includes them is a dream come true and wonderful, and I'm more than grateful.
Coach. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you in person somewhere somewhere on a track and field this year, but definitely at the 2022 induction, when we have both classes in person.
Well, thank you, Coach Cantor, and let's have a great 2021. And to all the track and field community out there, let's have a great 2021 season, and keep speaking up for our sport. And again, thanks to my wife and son who keep me going every day, and blessings to everybody.
Yes, sir. And stay safe.
Thank you, Coach Cantor.
Thank you.